I'm going to start with a question for you, Paul. Now, my wife owns a property in Yorkshire, which is in negative equity. It's been on the market for well over a year now with little interest, even though it is on for significantly less than she paid for it 11 years ago, on an interest-only mortgage. Now, we're planning to buy our first family house in the southeast in the not too distant future, but we require her salary to be part of the mortgage calculation to be able to afford what we're looking for. Can she convert her existing mortgage to a buy-to-let? And if so, are there any financial penalties? Also worth noting, she did initially live in the house when she first purchased it, but hasn't lived there for nearly 10 years.
Given it's in negative equity, you're almost a little bit trapped with regards to remortgaging. One potential solution is you could ask the current lender if they will allow her to, it's called consent to let,
right.
and let her let it out. How subsequent lenders would view that would probably be their call. Because it would still be a residential mortgage, and potentially wouldn't release her from, the obligations of that residential mortgage, given that the serviceability is based upon her income. I suppose it would depend how much negative equity that property is in, but considering disposing of the property is probably, something worth looking at. I know they mentioned it's on the market for less than what they paid, so perhaps that's not an option either. It's a difficult one, given that she already has the residential mortgage. That ties up her income, and it's hard to sell it and hard to remortgage it given the negative equity. So I suppose, again, we're working with limited information, so certainly worth speaking with a professional to get a full picture of what all of the options are. But negative equity is always a hard one to deal with, especially when it comes to trying to get a subsequent residential mortgage and obviously your income being required for that.
Yeah. Garrett and Simon, anything to snowball onto that?
A bit worried about still being in negative equity 11 years down the line. I'm guessing she must have raised additional funds at some point and just done it at a bad time in the market. But
well, if you remember back in 2006, 2007, you could get 125% mortgages.
Yeah,
so you buy a house for 200,000, they give you 250,000. And so even with the market then crashing and recovering, there are properties around the UK still that do have negative equity.
And 11 years, perhaps she bought in 2006 and 2007
maybe
when
just
the
at the
market
peak.
was
Exactly,
in a lot of regional areas. So it's a tough one, but
It is tough.
certainly not an enviable situation.
Yeah.
But find out what all of your options are and make the one that hurts less, I suppose.
Yes, excellent advice.